What is the biggest area of concern for Trey Lance going into his first season as a full-time starter, theoretically?
My biggest area of concern with Lance is just his accuracy. He's pretty good with it, but and when we're talking about accuracy, it's not even just completion percentage. It's more of where you're putting the ball. Um, but even that's kind of a hard one because I'm really high on Lance. I don't know if there's a whole lot of areas that I have concerns with Lance, other than the fact that he just hasn't done it before. I think he's a guy that's going to grow into it. So if I had to point to one area, I would just say his uh, consistent accuracy would be mine.
Yeah, that's fine. His accuracy, his mechanics, um, that's definitely way up there. Another one I'm going to add to it is touch. Like
Yeah.
a lot of this, I thought was him sort of being nervous or young or trying to prove himself, not playing the whole game. And once he got like a full game, he kind of calmed down. But he throws too hard. A lot of the time on the short stuff, it's like, yeah, he dropped the ball, but that was a very difficult throw. And I remember
That's a good one.
Phil Simms talked a lot about Bill Walsh. He got getting worked out by Bill Walsh in 1979 or whatever it is, and how Bill was just like, "Whoa, dude, you throw way too hard, softer. They need to catch the ball." And I'd like to see if he can do that because if everything is 100 miles an hour, and I mean they can win with him, but he probably isn't going to be a guy who ends up being, you know, in the Steve Young, Joe Montana category. He'll be more in the Colin Kaepernick category. And Kaepernick won a lot of games. But I wanted to say, I was talking to my dad. He mentioned that when, I didn't know this, when Steve Young came to the 49ers, he really struggled throwing spirals. And he had to learn and work on throwing spirals, which is a lot like Lance. Now, I watched Young. Young never didn't really have a cannon. He had touch. He was accurate. I guess he had to work on throwing spirals. Lance has a freaking cannon. And if he could just rein it in a little bit, then I mean, he should be pretty good.
Yeah, no, having the big arm is good, but like, yeah, 100%, you need to have some touch on the ball. Joe Montana didn't have the strongest arm, but he was able to get it everywhere on the field they needed to get it to. It's that
Stafford has
touch.
touch. Stafford
Uh-huh.
has touch too. Stafford has the big arm and touch. Mahomes has the big arm and touch. Herbert
Uh-huh.
has the big arm and touch.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of the, like you go back to NFC Championship game, that one of the deep outs on third down that Stafford hit. I mean, that was a beautiful touch ball because the ball's coming out so early because he's not trying to drive it
Yep.
through the wide receiver. So
Yep.
absolutely, touch is definitely an issue that hopefully Lance, that kind of goes along with the accuracy thing. It's a
Yes.
throwing motion process. So yeah, I agree with you.
Because I look at Lance as being like, I think I've said it before. He's the most physically gifted quarterback I've ever seen. Like he has, if you were to put up like all the different physical attributes or attributes for a quarterback and give him like a grade as a scout 1 to 10, I think he's high on more than any. I mean, just the combination of the mobility and the arm strength and the size, the work ethic and the love of football. Apparently, all of it seems unique. But what about like the throwing finesse stuff? What about touch? What about quick, like your release quickness? What about throwing with a spiral? That's all part of physical characteristics too. It's all
Mhm.
part of your skill set. So I'd like to see. I think the nice thing about this stuff is it can be learned.
It absolutely can be learned. It's like golfing, right? When you're
Yeah.
the golfers, it's all repetition in their swing, and they
Yes.
do all different types of swings, but they do it so often. It's the same thing with a quarterback. You've got to get your arm in the same general area all the time, regardless of where you are. If at one point your arm's at your ear, the next time it's down by your shoulder, the next time it's above your head, that makes it really hard to make an accurate throw because your launch point's different every time.
And one thing I noticed with him, and this is just my amateur scout opinion, watching him, he's the opposite of Kaepernick in the sense that mechanics mean everything to Trey. Like he's
Mhm.
really hyper cognizant of mechanics. He goes to Tom House. He works with John Beck. He's constantly drilling it. And in the pocket, he's a little not so natural. Like I kind of compare it to a dancer counting steps. Like you don't really feel the rhythm, the beat. Like you're doing what you learned in the class.
Right.
And what I'd like, I mean, that's great. And the more he does it, the more natural it'll get, of course.
Uh-huh.
But in the meantime, just when you get him out of the pocket because all of a sudden he's not thinking anymore and he's being an athlete. He looks really good when he's on the move. And he doesn't have to throw on the run. He can stop, he can set up, but just when you get him out of the pocket, I think he'll be a little less mechanical.
Yeah, we saw that against
Yes.
we saw it against Houston, right?
Yeah.
Moved him out
Yes.
to the right, takes a deep shot, or moves to the
Easy.
left. I think it was whatever it was, deep shot down the
Yeah.
middle of the field, long pass interference. moves
Yeah.
out to the right and drills the ball to Samuel for a touchdown. So
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you. It doesn't.
Like,
Those aren't even full rollouts. So just moving the pocket, moving the line.
yeah, just move in the pocket. Like when he's in the pocket, sometimes he'll have misses. I'm like, how did you miss by that much? It's like he's just in his head a little bit about his mechanics, I think, and sometimes they're not totally ingrained.
Uh-huh.
He's not. They're not totally ingrained. They're new to him, and sometimes he just doesn't have it. That I mean, you see him warm up. He will miss the ball boy frequently.
Yeah.
It's
Uh-huh.
like, whoa, dude. Usually professional pitchers, quarterbacks, anyone who throws the ball in their 20s for a living for millions of dollars can nail that ball boy consistently, but Trey's a little different. So I guess that would be the biggest area of concern.
Yeah. Yeah. He'll come out like, yeah, you're right. He'll miss one. You'll throw it over his head the next time he hits him right in the chest.
Right.
But yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
But again, like he's not the kind of guy who's just out there running wind sprints saying, I'll do it my way. Like he really
Right.
means everything to him. And I
Yeah.
think he'll get it. He still is only 21 years old.